squeeze it, and it's over. Look at those Yankees. They have beaten the Red Sox again.
Welcome to Baseball Seasons 1978. Familiar foes.
One out is all they need. Any fly ball, anything. That's all they need. That's do it. That's going to do it. Torres gets it. Over. The Yankees win their 21st World Series.
In 1977, the New York Yankees won the World Series, despite having one of the most contentious clubhouses in baseball history. With a win-at-all-costs owner in George Steinbrenner, a hyper-intense manager in Billy Martin, and playing in the media center of the world, the 77 Yankees had been a cauldron of turmoil, and yet they fought through the adversity to become champions.
Those Yankees were the toughest team I've ever seen or heard of. Very few athletes in any sport can perform that well under pressure, and those Yankees did.
Hard shot, right field, it's gone.
Oh, what a World Series for Richie Jackson. How this man has responded to pressure. He's answered the whole world.
How can you touch a club like this?
All right, well,
we're just going to try to get them all together, and we'll be back again next year.
Winning cured everything, and everybody was in love with each other at the end of that 77 World Series and ready to go out and do battle even under the same conditions in 78.
well, somebody said you ought to get the Nobel Peace Prize.
Actually, in 1978, the Nobel Peace Prize would be shared by Egyptian President Anwar Sadat and Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin for their landmark peace agreement. And while not nearly as significant as the state of the Middle East, the New York Yankees had also risen above their discord to reach a détente. For Jackson and the Yanks, the 78 home opener would be a sweet one, as fans were given a candy bar named after Reggie. And when they were treated to a homer in his first at-bat, the fans showed their love for him in a most unusual way.
All the free Reggie bars wound up raining down on the field in one of the most bizarre celebrations in Yankee history.
This game marked the beginning of yet another tumultuous year in Yankee history. The controversy would begin in the bullpen. In 77, reliever Sparky Lyle was named the best pitcher in the American League.
Look him out, Sparky Lyle. What a job he did.
But when New York signed flamethrower Goose Gossage, Lyle lost his job.
How can you win the Cy Young Award and then go out and get another guy to take your place?
He's being used in the fifth inning, which is not Sparky Lyle time the way he sees it, and they want him to go out for the sixth inning. He's in the clubhouse. He won't come out. Billy sends Art Fowler, his pitching coach, to the clubhouse, and he says, tell Billy, I'm a closer. I'm not a middle reliever.
Gossage's early season struggles only amplified the issue.
Man, I stunk the joint up. I couldn't get anybody out. I lost a ball game every way conceivable. I'd come to the mound in Munson and say, how you gonna lose this one?
He would pitch, guys would go, oh, not him again.
He forces in another run.
I even refused to let him come into some of my games because, you know, I told him until you get guys out, I'll pitch my own games.
And as the calendar turned to June, the rest of the Yankees began to flounder in their own right.
Our offense has been sputtering, and we haven't made the big play or have gotten the big hit. But really the biggest problem wrong with the Yankees is the Boston Red Sox.
The Sox had finished just 2.5 games behind New York in 77 and had entered the 78 season feeling good about themselves.
I'm not a guy to predict Eastern Division championships, but I know we're a hell of a ball club and we're going to be tough to beat.
Boston had the best hitting lineup that I've ever faced.
High drive, center field. Rivers going back. It's off the wall.
You had Lynn, you had Rice, you had Yastrzemski, you had Fisk, you had Scott, you had Hobson. All of those guys hit 20, 30 home runs.
Drive to deep left and gone.
They had so much power from top to bottom in the lineup. It was just amazing.
That's Boston's third home run in a row.
And if you look at them, as far as how they were in the field, they had a Gold Glover at catcher, Fred Lynn, Gold Glove in center.
Fine play by Fred Lynn.
Dwight Evans, a Gold Glove in right. I mean, they were just an incredible nine.
What a catch by Dwight Evans.
But what made this Red Sox team special was the pitching staff. they'd signed eventual 16-game winner Mike Torres away from the Yankees.
Strike out on a curveball.
Traded for rising star Dennis Eckersley and paired them with former All-Stars Bill Lee and Luis Tiant to form a solid top-to-bottom rotation. The early results were quite impressive.
We were blowing people out. It was nothing for us to win series and score 30 runs in a series and let the other team score 3 or 4.
The Red Sox were on a roll and threatening to run away with the division. It seemed as if Boston's bomb squad was on their way for a chance at their first World Series title in 60 years. As the Los Angeles Dodgers began their National League title defense in 1978, they had to feel good about themselves. In '77, they'd seemingly done the impossible by dethroning the two-time champion Reds. But in '78, the Dodgers would be hunted, and Cincinnati was taking direct aim at them.
One year doesn't make you the wonder. You know, you have to do it more than once. And I would like to prove one thing, that the Dodgers are not any better than we are, and that maybe we are the best team still in the National League.
And with 4 former MVPs in their everyday lineup, and one of the league's best pitchers in Tom Seaver, the Big Red Machine was humming nicely. George Foster began smacking homers.
And it's gone.
Pete Rose was banging out hits.
Rose lines one.
And Seaver threw his first career no-hitter.
He bounces to first base. Tom Seaver has pitched his first Major League no-hitter.
The Reds had fired the first salvo and waited to see how the Dodgers would respond.
When you try to define pressure, I think the greatest definition is it's something that comes from within only because of the fear of failing. And we don't ever think about failing.
Let's go. It's aggressive and determined. That's all. Good luck, David.
With a cast of excellent veterans like Steve Garvey, Ron Cey, Davey Lopes, Reggie Smith, Tommy John, and Don Sutton, the Dodgers had the talent and the hunger to repeat.
He got it. The ball game is over, and look at those Dodger players come out of that dugout.
Still had the same attitude. We're going to go out there and meet some people. We're going to go out there and we want to get back to the World Series.
And led by their manager, Tommy Lasorda, the Dodgers stayed the course.
Tom's role was to keep us focused. He tried to keep it light, which is Tom's a master at that. Levity was important.
Well, what do you think I should do? Take him out or leave him in? All right, I'm going to take him in.
But the Dodgers could respond to the whip, as was evidenced in an early season game against the Reds, with Tommy John protecting a small lead.
Lasorda comes out. He said, "How do you feel?" And I said, "I'm okay." "You tired?" No. I said, "I'm fine." "Well, then throw me a ground ball. If I had somebody had a gun to my head and they were going to kill me if I didn't get a ground ball, I would want you to be throwing it because you're going to throw a ground ball." And I said, "Okay." And the first pitch I throw, double play. I'm out of the inning, and I go on, and I win the game. But that was Lasorda.
While the resilient Dodgers were doing their best to cope with meeting lofty expectations, the Philadelphia Phillies were consumed with them.
Rich, here we go, 1978.
That's right, Harry, and I believe that this is the best Phillies ball club that I've seen in Philadelphia. Almost everybody picks them to win. They have won their division title the last 2 seasons, and I think that if they don't do more than that this season, however, a lot of people are going to be a little disappointed.
The Phils were on a mission. The franchise had never won a World Series, hadn't been to one since 1950, had suffered back-to-back frustrating postseason defeats in '76 and '77. The Phils clearly had something to prove in '78.
This year, I think that the Phillies players and the entire organization, even the Phillies fans, are saying, let's go get it.
The Phils were a collection of all-stars, gold glovers, home run champs, and Cy Young Award winners. But as a unit, they had moved beyond individual motivation. They were playing for one reason only: to win a championship.
For us to fall short in the playoffs hurt a lot. A lot of focus was put on that. You know, they're a great team, but they can't win the big one. And then, you know, until you can do that, you're never going to be one of the all-time great teams. And the players are never going to be referred to as all-time great players.
Playing each game with a chip on their shoulder, the Phils took the division lead in June while yearning for October. If any single team could relate to the Phillies' plight, it was the Kansas City Royals. 2 years in a row, the AL West champs had lost the pennant in the last inning of the last game to the Yankees.
And the Yankees have won the pennant. Unbelievable.
But the Royals had distinguished themselves by playing valiantly in defeat, especially their all-star third baseman, George Brett.
High drive, hit to right field. It's gone. There it is. The ball game is tied.
You know, we had some tough losses to the Yankees, and yet you're the guy that was supposed to get it done for you, continue to get it done.
I felt very comfortable with the game on the line to be the guy up in the batter's box. 2 outs, bottom of the ninth. A lot of guys don't want to be in that position. I always wanted to be that guy.
Been very quiet. That was way back, and it is there.
In '78, the Royals would need Brett's confidence to fight off a rising California Angel team who had signed budding star Lyman Bostock for big money to bolster their attack.
This guy was on his way to he was on his way to Cooperstown. This kid gets flat out hit.
But when Bostock got off to a slow start, he made the most unusual of gestures.
He felt guilty about taking this check, and he took his check and he donated it to his church because he said, I don't deserve this money. As soon as he did that, he caught on fire.
With the now hot-hitting Bostock joining forces with slugger Don Baylor and all-star pitchers Nolan Ryan and Frank Tanana, the Angels were hoping to grab the team's first ever playoff berth. As spring turned to summer in '78, it was becoming clear that some players were not just having great years, but transcendent ones. And one of those was Pete Rose, who became the 13th player in history to notch 3,000 hits. And in the summer of '78, he would captivate the entire baseball world as he began an assault on one of the most hallowed records in sports, Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak.
Would you be very upset if he broke it?
It wouldn't upset me. You know, I've had a lot of admiration for Rose, and I'd have to have nothing but more admiration for him should he do it.
Game after game, Rose would not only perpetuate the streak, but embrace the excitement that it was generating.
It was quite a feeling inside with the hand they gave me. I wish I could have just called time and shook hands with every one of them.
Pete thoroughly enjoyed it. Pete loved the limelight, and as that streak stretched on and on and on, he had the interviews every night. The press corps was following him.
You see that ball come down out of the stands, that one about that big? That's the way the ball looked to me tonight, see? Now tomorrow it might look like a golf ball, see? Then it gets down to an aspirin, then you go 0 for 4.
And in the 45th game, he finally did go 0 for 4, but not before tying the second longest hit streak in history.
He hung with them for 44 straight games. One of the most remarkable batting feats, especially for a 37-year-old player.
Rose's torrid hitting was helping the Reds keep pace with the Dodgers. While at Fenway Park, Jim Rice of the division-leading Red Sox was also having a remarkable season.
High drive, center field, way in the air. It is gone.
The amount of damage that he did was almost unforgettable, and how hard he hit the ball at times was just astounding.
Way back. That was a monster.
They couldn't get him out. If they prayed he just hit a single.
But he rarely did, as Rice was on his way to leading the league in home runs, triples, RBIs, slugging percentage, and total bases.
Long drive to deep left going and gone.
He just crushed it.
And the fans stand up, paying tribute.
It was amazing to watch.
And what was equally amazing was the season that Yankee pitcher Ron Guidry was putting together.
Hey, he got over there.
Every time he stepped on the mound that season, nobody touched him.
He struck him out.
He was electrifying. He had a great fastball, outstanding control, and he had a slider that disappeared.
Struck him out. Holy cow.
That year,
Guidry's slider was incredible. Nobody could lay off of it. As soon as he got 2 strikes, especially in Yankee Stadium, everybody's like, every time they screamed, the guy swung.
Here's the 2-strike pitch. Struck him out!
Guidry would win his first 13 decisions in '78, including a memorable shutout over the Angels.
His slider got better and better as the game progressed, and towards the end of the ball game, he was unhittable.
He probably had the greatest individual year, of any pitcher in the history of the game.
But for the Yankees in the first half of '78, Guidry was the only one providing any thrills as the team continued to stumble. This infuriated their owner, George Steinbrenner, who took action.
He had everybody come in the clubhouse and told everybody, sit in your locker, and told Billy, you stand right here. And he proceeded to run down his lineup. That lineup lasted one night.
You go to yourself, what does this guy that has a shipbuilding company know about this damn game?
And the shipbuilder's meddling only rocked the boat further, as it infuriated his manager, Billy Martin, who in turn directed some of his frustration toward Reggie Jackson, the owner's prized free agent pickup of a year ago.
Each day, you could feel the tension as a sports writer walking into that clubhouse. If you walked up to Reggie, you saw Billy looking out from his office. What is he saying? Is he talking about me?
The relationship finally exploded on July 17th in an extra inning game against Kansas City.
Billy wants Reggie to bunt. Reggie can't bunt. So Reggie was, at this point, he was a mess, and he's saying, he wants me to bunt. So he bunts once badly. Billy takes off the sign. Reggie keeps bunting. I'll show him.
But it was Martin who showed Jackson, as he suspended him for 5 games and then demanded an apology upon Reggie's return to the team.
The way that they have interpreted the offense, and apologies and whatever, but the way I've interpreted the offense, I don't really feel I did anything wrong,
Billy is just beside himself with anger. How dare he not apologize? And then he said it. He said, one's a born liar and the other's convicted. Now, the deal is, the born liar is Reggie, the convicted liar is George.
Billy had gone too far and would be forced to resign.
I would like to thank the Yankee management, my coaches, my players, and most of all,
the Yankees were in chaos, and more than 10 games out of first place. It seemed that if they were going to repeat as champions, they would need a miracle. Not long after the All-Star break, the Dodgers would play their best ball of the season, and it would be Pete Rose's Reds who would wilt in August. The Big Red Machine was aging, while the Dodgers were fueled by young Bob Welch, an unflappable mid-season call-up.
There's a lot of things that you have to adapt to, but it's still a good old game, You gotta go out and pitch no matter where you're at.
Whether starting or closing, the hard-throwing rookie gave LA's pitching a huge boost, while the veteran Reggie Smith proved to be the savior for the offense.
Reggie Smith literally carried our ball club. Reggie Smith has to be the MVP of the National League in 1978.
We were back. The magic was back, and we were going to win it all.
LA was returning to the postseason, which was the only place the '78 Phillies wanted to be. But to get there, they would have to fight off the Pittsburgh Pirates, who made a late charge to try and steal the division. In the end, however, the Phils held firm and won their 3rd straight division crown.
Really what's important once you get over that initial hurdle is what can you do when the heat's on? How good can you be in front of the country, in front of the world in a big series?
Schmidt's Phillies were going to get another chance to find out, as were the Royals. KC was able to outlast the Angels down the stretch. California would then be further devastated by the shooting death of their new star, Lyman Bostock.
As a manager of a ball club, you lose a player, but as a man, you lose a friend.
While the Angels grieved, back east, one of the great pennant races in history was still unfolding between Boston and New York, two longtime rivals. In recent years, these AL East powerhouses had been battling each other with an edge.
When I played the Yankees did not like the Red Sox. And when I played with the Red Sox hated the Yankees.
Is now going over to a couple of the Yankees. There they go again.
Playing the Red Sox, I just get full of fury and I want to beat the ball club as best just more than anything in the world.
The 78 pennant race would turn out to be one of the most intense battles in their shared history. But it didn't seem that way in mid-July, as the Red Sox were 14 games up on the Yankees and sporting the best record in baseball.
I just remember having this feeling as I looked down on the field that I was looking at the champions.
But then, a confluence of events would transpire to change that vision. And it began with the Yankees hiring Bob Lemon to replace Billy Martin as their manager.
Things had gotten too out of control with Billy, and there was just too much tension. And there was nobody better to bring in as manager than Bob Lemon, who was this laid-back guy who let the players play. He was like the anti-Billy.
The Yankees would also benefit from a New York newspaper strike that began on August 10th. The media feeding frenzy that had surrounded the team had suddenly been replaced by an air of calm.
At that particular time, we kind of needed that. It gave us a chance to kind of focus on baseball. It wasn't a lot of, who doesn't like who, Reggie doesn't like Thurman, or this and this and that.
And there was the unexpected revival of Catfish Hunter, the former Cy Young Award winner who had been pitching woefully and in pain all season. But then, in early August, after a shoulder manipulation, Catfish miraculously regained his old magic.
Suddenly he was pitching beautifully. He wasn't throwing as hard, but he was such a control artist, and he was such a smart pitcher, and he was so courageous that he was able to just win almost every start he made.
And while Catfish was helping bolster the rotation, the Goose had become a true bully in the pen.
Got him! Oh, that ball jumped right over his back.
He was intimidating. He gave you that glare, that stare, and came at you with arms and legs.
And the hitters didn't have a chance.
Strike three, nervous time is over.
With Goose slamming games shut and Guidry continuing his dream season, the Yankees soon began to click on all cylinders.
We go out, win. The next night you win. Weeks start to go by and you're just winning.
The ball game is over. The Yankees have won another.
You're continually looking at the standing, and what's Boston doing? Then all of a sudden what you saw was they're losing.
I had a great hitting lineup, and all of a sudden, as a team, we stopped hitting. We couldn't score a run.
Strike three.
And as the lead began to melt away, the Yankees claimed the psychological high ground.
In our hearts, we knew we were better than Boston. And we also knew they were afraid of us.
It's no thing is choke. You can easily go out there, you're not playing aggressive ball, that's not choking. But when the guys just walk off the field and give up, that's choking.
In early September, New York, trailing by 4 games, pulled into Fenway for a 4-game series. The Yankees were ready to make a statement that would not be forgotten.
Base hit. Rivers is in to score. Base hit. Here comes Panola, and 2 runs scored.
We jumped on them real quick, and we never let up. I think at one point we batted around twice before their first batter got up.
Gonna score another run.
Once we got rolling, they couldn't stop us. The feeling in Fenway Park was just, the silence was deafening. I just couldn't believe how come up there and just steamroll them like that.
The series would become known as the Boston Massacre, as the Yankees won all 4 games, outscoring the Red Sox 42-9.
I remember during the Boston Massacre, a fan came down from way up in the upper boxes and just leaned over in the dugout, was screaming at Zimmerman.
The teams were tied for first, but headed in opposite directions. And the next weekend, the Yankees moved 3.5 games ahead of Boston. But just when all hope seemed lost, the ridiculed Red Sox rose from the dead and made a gallant final charge. Incredibly, they won their last 8 games of the season.
Talk about the comeback. To me, our team made the comeback.
Fittingly, Boston caught New York on the last day of the season, setting up a 1-game playoff to decide the winner once and for all.
Ball game's over. The Red Sox ecstatic on the field. We play the Yankees tomorrow.
And so after 162 games, New York and Boston had settled nothing at all.
After an epic pennant race, the Yankees and Red Sox were set for a dramatic 1-game playoff. Boston had the comfort of playing at Fenway, but the Yanks had the security of throwing the league's best pitcher, Ron Guidry.
We felt like going up there, with Guidry on the mound that, we had a great chance of winning the game.
Taking the hill for the Red Sox was ex-Yankee Mike Torres, who had helped New York win the World Series just 1 year before.
I had a lot of butterflies. I was nervous. I knew I was going to have to pitch a good game against them and just wanted to keep the score close, especially in Fenway.
Pitching the biggest game of the season, Torres would do more than that.
A big strikeout for Mike Torres.
But pitching on 3 days rest for the 3rd straight start, Guidry was running on fumes.
Drive to right field. This is deep, and this ball is gone. A home run for Yastrzemski.
It seemed like it was going to be a great day for Boston, as Red Sox icon Carl Yastrzemski got them on the board early, and the league's most dominant hitter chipped in, giving Boston a 2-run lead.
And Jimmy Rice has a big hit, 2-0 in favor of Boston.
With Boston out in front, Torres was in complete control and 1 out away from getting through the 7th inning. Then, with 2 men on, light-hitting Bucky Dent came to the plate.
I thought we had it in the bag, 2-0, 7th inning, 2 outs, and I wasn't worried.
Deep to left.
It just kept drifting. You would keep looking, we'd saying, go, 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 and, they're saying, hit the wall, hit the wall.
Yastrzemski will not get it. It's a home run.
Ball's gone. Craw, what a blow.
A 3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead it by a score of 3-2.
And Reggie Jackson would seemingly add the exclamation point.
Holy cow, did he hit that?
The Yankees lead it 5-2.
Just like in the first 162, the Yankees had caught and passed Boston. But in a repeat at the season's end, Boston would come back.
Here comes Yastrzemski around third. He will score. It is 5-4. Is Boston Red Sox fans on their feet, and they've got something to cheer about.
Appropriately, this game would go to the 9th with the Yankees up 1 run. And right on cue, Boston would mount a rally.
Ball 4, tying runs on.
The Yankees were in trouble in more ways than one.
And that sun set right behind home plate and right into the right fielder's eyes. And I told Bob Lemon, our manager, if the ball's hit to me in the line, there's a big problem. I can't see a thing.
Vanilla can't see the ball.
All of a sudden, I don't see it anymore. And at the last second, the ball comes out of the sun. I grabbed it, and I made a nice throw to third base, and we kept Burleson at second.
Pinella's play kept the tying run from advancing to third, where the runner would have been able to score on a fly ball from Rice.
Deep to right, but Pinella has room. And the ball was high enough for him to see it tagging at second base and going to third is Burleson. Oh, there are 2 outs. This ball game going right down to the wire.
Finally, it would come down to one last chance, and Yaz coming to the plate.
I remember going to bed the night before that playoff game and thinking that, man, I'm going to be facing Yastrzemski tomorrow, Yaz, for the final out.
Carl Yastrzemski has hit a home run and a single. The tying run is at third base. The winning run is at first base.
I had never been so nervous in a ball game in my whole life.
Now it is up to Yaz.
There were probably 25,000 people in the ballpark that did not think that Yaz would fail to get a hit.
Popped up, that might be it. Nettles over at third base. He'll squeeze it and it's over.
The Yankees Phillies have won the division, beating the Red Sox 5-4 in a game that will go down in history as one of the most memorable, hard-fought contests ever.
Gossage had managed to hang on. Guidry won his league-leading 25th game, and the Yankees were back in the postseason.
It's been a great year for me, and come back and win on the last day of the season, that made my year complete. If I would have lost it, I don't think that would have meant anything, but when you got guys like Bucky here that come through, you know, everything's rewarded.
You know one thing, it's like old times. Well, see you, Larry. You guys did a good job. You had a great year.
As the Phillies and Dodgers got set to square off in their second straight NLCS, each team had victory on their minds. The Phils were hoping to wash away the bitter taste of 2 straight playoff failures, while the Dodgers, who had beaten Philly in '77, were more than ready for the rematch.
We knew it was going to be a battle, and we had the pieces to be able to win.
And right from game 1, the Dodgers showed those Phils the difference between hope and belief.
First pitch to Garvey, hit hard left center field. It's on its way, heading for the wall, and it's gone.
In the opener, Steve Garvey smacked 2 homers to power a Dodger win. And in game 2, Tommy John threw a 4-hit shutout.
The Dodgers have won game 2.
The Phils were on the brink of another elimination. But back in LA, they would manage to stay alive in game 3. In the 4th game, however, in the bottom of the 10th inning, with the score tied, they would pick the wrong time to make the costliest of mistakes.
Baker hits it into center field. Maddox coming in and drops the ball.
That was a big moment for us, and that door opened up for us, and the good teams take advantage of that.
Bill Russell, the batter. The Dodgers have the pennant at second base. The 1-0 pitch. It's all over. Center field for a base hit. Ron Chafee wins, and it's all over. The Dodgers won the pennant again.
For the Phillies, it was going to be another long winter. But for the Dodgers, they were going to have an autumn to anticipate.
I'm really proud of them. I love them. This is the only place to be in the Fall Classic.
And their opponents in the Fall Classic would be the winner of the Royals-Yankees series. New York had beaten KC in the previous 2 championship series, but Kansas City was still confident, mainly because they still had George Brett.
The game itself is made upon big plays at the right time. And George, we really felt was our key to helping us beat him.
And with the series tied at 1 game apiece, in the crucial 3rd game, Brett would once again step into the spotlight.
And deep to right, it is gone.
Brett would eventually hit not 1, not 2.
Brett is 2 for 2.
But 3 home runs.
Incredible! What a performance!
And his Royals would take a 5-4 lead into the bottom of the 8th inning. Now it would be the Yankees who would look for a hero and would find a broken down one in their captain, Thurman Munson.
He knew the end was near. Knees, shoulders, he was through. He was never going to be a great hitter again.
Munson hits it high, hits it well to left. Wilson going way back. It is.
The ball went 450 feet. He was no longer capable of doing that, and he did it.
Thurman Munson coming through in the clutch. That's about as far as you can hit a ball in this ballpark.
When Thurman Munson hit that home run, you say to yourself, not again, this can't be happening again.
With one defining blow, Munson had sent the Royals to a crushing Game 3 defeat. And the next night, his Yankees would send the Royals home for a 3rd straight season with a series-clinching Game 4 victory.
And the Yankees win the pennant for the 3rd consecutive year.
The team that wouldn't die was going back to the World Series. The '78 World Series, pitting the Yankees against the Dodgers, would be a rematch of the '77 Fall Classic.
We knew that the Yankees were formidable, had beaten us the year before. Obviously, we had some retribution on our minds.
But the Dodgers were also dealing with the devastating death of their beloved coach and lifelong Dodger, Jim Gilliam.
On the left shoulder of the Dodger players, you'll see the number 19. That was Jim Gilliam's number.
It was a sad, sad moment. Trust me, it had an effect on every man in that clubhouse.
Would you all please rise for a moment of silence?
It was pretty tough, to be honest with you. He had a tremendous impact on me. He and I went back a long way.
And in Game 1, Davey Lopes would ride that emotion as he hit not one, but 2 home runs.
There's an inspired young man right there, Davey Lopes. He has really been moved with the loss of Jim Gilliam.
Lopes would lead L.A. to a Game 1 win. And in Game 2, they would look to fireballing rookie Bob Welch to fan the flames. The Dodgers held a 1-run lead with 2 outs in the 9th as Reggie Jackson came to bat with a chance to win the game. A year ago, Jackson had wrecked the Dodgers, but now L.A. would ask the rookie to stop him.
I was shaking in my drawers, to tell you the truth. You know, it's the first time I get a chance to pitch in a World Series. Then here comes Reggie Jackson up. I started shaking a little bit more, and the crowd started getting a little bit louder.
This crowd will tell you what's happening. Listen to them.
Pitch after pitch, the kid challenged the veteran as the tension mounted.
Foul it back. What a battle.
Well, I'm telling you, my palms are sweating up here in the booth.
I can remember how tight my stomach was and shortness of breath, the excitement in every swing that he took.
Foul back.
It was the greatest pitcher versus batter confrontation I have ever seen in my entire life.
And 6 minutes after it began, the epic at-bat finally came to an end. The Dodgers had seemingly taken control of the series.
Going to New York up 2-0 was really the height of optimism for us. We were kind of on a high going there.
The Yankees were back home and back in a big hole, but they were used to digging out of them.
I can remember Munson said, if we win tonight's game, somehow we can win. We can win all the rest. We have the team to come back and win. So it pumped everybody up.
They had the right pitcher on the mound as well. Ron Guidry had been saving the Yankees all season long. But in this game, it would be their third baseman who would be their savior.
What a play by Nettles. Throw in time. He is absolutely fabulous. I don't believe it.
They just kept hitting it at me, and I kept catching it. It seemed like every time they hit the ball to me, it seemed like the bases were loaded and had to make some kind of a fancy play.
The defensive heroics of Nettles would win them a game they had to have.
Brad Nettles with quite a defensive display that inning once again. Nettles with a great play. The dial.
I always tease Nettles. I said, you know, if I really would have had good stuff, nobody would have known that you were that good at third baseman.
As Guidry closed the door on the Dodgers, L.A. still owned a 2-1 series lead, but it was far from a safe one. While the Yankees had the momentum going into Game 4, the Dodgers still held a 2-1 series lead and were looking to bury the Yankees. But the Yankees had L.A. right where they wanted them and began to chip away.
We had the feeling that all we needed was one break in a game to turn the game around.
And in the bottom of the 6th, they would get it. Dodger shortstop Bill Russell's throw had hit Reggie, and L.A. claimed it was interference.
Was he trying to get out of the way, or was he trying to get in the way? To me, it's obvious that he wasn't trying to get out of the way.
He intentionally looked like he got in the way.
He did what he thought he could to help the team, and you know, we got away with that one.
He was standing there. He made no attempt. He's standing right in front of the bat.
It changed the momentum. From that point on, the Yankees felt that they could beat us, and truthfully, I don't know what happened to us.
The Dodgers were reeling, and as the game went to extra innings, Lou Piniella looked to land the fatal blow.
When I went up the home plate, I told Steve Yeager, the catcher, this game's over. I knew I was going to hit the ball hard somewhere. And the first pitch was a high fastball, aligned at the right center field.
Line drive, base hit. Here comes White.
And the game was over.
The Yankees had tied the series at 2 games apiece. And in Game 5, the teams would continue to move in opposite directions. The Dodgers were falling apart, while the Yankees were getting unexpected contributions from players like rookie Brian Doyle and Bucky Dent, who was having an October to remember.
Spencer scores. Doyle to third. Now the number 8 and number 9 hitters in the Yankee order tonight have 6 hits. 3 for Doyle, 3 for Dent.
The Yankees would crush the Dodgers in Game 5 and seize control of the series.
Some people thought the Yankees were through, but the Yankees didn't. They're going to win 3 in a row. They lead the series 3 games to 2.
And it was only appropriate that in the 6th game in LA, Catfish Hunter would be on the mound to help complete the Yankee comeback. Hunter's own personal journey had mirrored that of his team, and now the resilient Yankees would finish the job.
That year was just really, really a special year. The team itself had such a grit to them, just tremendous competitors.
Those Yankees, if they had to gnaw off your leg and their leg to win, they would do it.
And Reggie Jackson would put the icing on the cake as he got revenge on Bob Welch.
Oh, that's gone. Forget it. That's way out of here. He just showed, I am the boss, youngster.
It was an incredible journey from being the 14 games out to what we ended up accomplishing. I'd put that team up against any team.
Yankees are the champions.
The Yankees had completed one of the most remarkable seasons in history, having been down 14 games in the regular season and 0-2 in a World Series. They'd fought through it all to repeat as champions.
Not many clubs could have gone through what we went through all year long and still won a World Series. That's what makes that whole year so special.
The Dodgers, Yankees, and Red Sox would see their fates intertwined for years to come. In 1981, the Dodgers would have their revenge on the Yankees.
The Dodgers are the 1981 champions of baseball.
For the Yankees, it would be the start of a long championship drought that would last almost 2 decades and end with 4 World Series titles in a 5-year span. And the Red Sox would ultimately find redemption as well.
The Boston Red Sox have won the pennant.
In 2004, they would become the first team to overcome a 3-0 playoff deficit to beat the Yankees on their way to winning their first World Series in 86 years.